Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
Starsky. Oh, we're partners.
You're listening to Steven Strom on TalkNorth.com.
What is going on? Welcome into the Strom Sports Show. Steven Strom here, TalkNorth.com. As always, big thanks to my producer, Brandon Morton. Jim Suhan is the man to contact on our website. Wow. I mean, and I'm recording this on a Thursday afternoon. This is fresh off the Nebraska loss. Oh my goodness, this one really hurt. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And we'll get into it in a couple seconds here, but that one was a gut shot. I mean, just an absolute blow to the gut. I couldn't sleep last night. Just a putrid, horrible, horrible job by the referees. I don't know what the heck they learned in referee school. They've got to have learned the verticality rule and how if you go straight up, it is not a foul. Not a foul. And they may have ruined, the Gopher season and may have costed Rick Pitino's job at Minnesota because those games, man, you cannot lose those games. They add up towards the end of the year as the Gophers have lost 4 in a row at this point. Just horrible. Negative Dave, he makes his return back. He's finally found some time for us. He's been real busy at work in Arizona, so he finally had a spot for us. I know he's really kind of ditched us these last few weeks. So he will make his return back here in just a few minutes. But I want to get into this Gopher loss because this one, I mean, there's no other to say it. This one is just an absolute killer to this team. The whole morale, the whole kind of trajectory of the season. You needed to win this game, and I put it out something yesterday on Twitter that the next 7 games would determine Richard Pitino's career. Well, that's not a good start, and I'm not going to sit here and blame him because he has taken a lot of heat so far this year, and I cannot sit here and blame him for this one because the referees, who were pretty good all game, that is just such a tough call, and if you didn't watch the game, please go watch the highlights. They're on YouTube, but this was a game that they had, man. That is a huge, huge swing of things because now the Gophers, who now a lot of experts are kind of not writing off, but have them on the outside looking in at this point in the season, the Gophers now sit at 16-9 overall, 6-8 in the Big Ten, and that is 8th in the conference. I mean, you have teams like Illinois, Rutgers, who have 5 wins. I mean, it is crazy how jam-packed this conference is, but now people are starting to talk. I mean, I was listening to the postgame, by the way, Big Ten postgame. I mean, it's brutal. It's really bad. I mean, Robbie Hummel, a great player at Purdue, unbelievable. Andy Katz, who I actually liked. Guys, don't try to sit and tell me that Nebraska Cornhuskers sitting at, 14-11 and 4-10 in the Big Ten. Don't tell me they're on the bubble all of a sudden. Please don't tell me. And then that's what they were trying to. They were trying, and this is the media sometimes is so they try to reach for these stories and they try to create this narrative, these like hot takes. Nebraska is not making the tournament. So stop feeding. You don't have to feed me that the whole time. Talk about how bad that call was. They're sitting here. They're trying to tell me that they're going to go on the road and beat Michigan State, Michigan, then beat Purdue and Iowa at home. I mean, come on. Nebraska they lost 7 in a row at that point. And I know there's no team in this league that are pushovers, but just an absolutely horrible call. You had to feel for the players. I mean, they really did battle yesterday. They were down 4 with 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left. They come back. They take the lead on a Jordan Murphy lay-in. Bully ball. I thought Murphy played a great game, 19 points. He put the Gophers up ahead with the minute left. And then, the last possession, they get a stop, and Dupree McBrayer is on the line, and his foot's on the line, and they give it back to Nebraska. And it's just you just wait. And it's just a Minnesota thing at this point. When certain things, you start to see, you've seen things again, right? And certain things happen to a team. Like I said, only Minnesota, and you think to yourself, oh, well, that was it. We had our chance, we didn't get it. Now the sports gods are going to go against us, and that's what happens every time. I mean, I knew as soon as McBrayer sat on the line and they said Nebraska ball with 1.1 second, are you telling me that you had any doubt that Nebraska was going to get a bucket or get a foul? I mean, come on. It was setting up. At a game perspective, Minnesota continues to struggle in the half court. Their half court sets, I don't know, they run the same stuff. It's a stagnant offense. If they don't get stops and push in transition, they are a boring, put me to sleep team. And that falls on the coach. I'll give Pitino that. He needs to get better at these half court sets. He needs to get better at getting a rotation that works. I mean, he's trying to throw new guys in. I mean, he had Brock Stoll in there with Isaiah Washington, and Washington didn't play as much. Then he had the freshman Omarusa in. I mean, he was throwing in guys off the street because he cannot find a simple rotation after the starting five that works. And that's where the Gophers that's where a lot of their problems stem from. When the starters come out, or when one of the, McBrayer comes out in Coffee, or Noturu or Murphy comes out, they don't know where to go because they don't have a true point guard. They were hoping it was going to be Washington, but he has not developed. He has not developed into what they thought. And then defensively, the offensive rebounds for these teams, they are absolute killers for the Gophers. Absolutely killers. Multiple times yesterday in the second half, you need to have one-and-done possessions. Meaning, once you get that first stop and Nebraska misses a shot, you better get that rebound. Because there was multiple times yesterday where they hoisted up a shot or they got to the rim, and we played really good defense, right? They defended. I mean, the Gophers defended really well yesterday. Okay? You look at the stats in this game, I mean, there's no reason. If you would have showed me the stats today, Gophers shoot 6 of 14 from 3, 5 of 8 from the free throw line, single digits in turnovers. They turned over 9 times. Murphy has 19 points. Oturu has 16. Coffee has 11. That's usually good enough. That's why yesterday was such a blow. Because you felt pretty... I mean, they were up 11 at a point in the first half, and I know that doesn't tell the whole story, and I know that those leads don't mean anything in the beginning of the game. But still, 11 on the road, it's tough. There's nothing more I can say other than it was a complete punch in the gut for this team, for the fans, for the players, because now you're sitting on 6 more games. You've got to play Indiana next at home. You have to win that. I mean, if they lose against Indiana, just get your tickets to the NIT. Go line up and go get your tickets for the NIT because they're not going to make it if they lose Indiana. You got to beat Indiana. You got to put up a fight against Michigan. You got to beat Rutgers. You got to beat Northwestern, that is not going to be easy games, both on the road. And then Purdue and Maryland. You got to split one of them. And that's where the Gophers sit at right now. They have completely shot themselves in the foot with a lot of these games. You look at 2 of them, they're game winners. The Michigan game in Ann Arbor, Charles Matthews hits the corner little jumper to put them up. And then the Nebraska one. Those are 2 games that you flip around and you win. And I know it's very hypothetical to say it. And I can't stand actually when people do it, but I'm going to. You flip that up. The Gophers are 18-7 and 8-6 in the Big Ten. And a lock in the NCAA tournament. Instead, they got to do some soul searching, some digging. And usually that doesn't turn out too well. Negative Dave, he's up next.
Minnesota has sure had its share of sports blunders.
Number one is the Bopsy twins, Felvey and Levine. Because I think it's one guy. And I think the other guy that show you on pictures or in the media is just some bobo that he's just like the janitor or something. They just throw a suit on him.
Nobody breaks them down quite like Steve and Dave.
This year, when you signed Kirk Cousins, the question wasn't even close to being if this team makes the playoffs. The question was, you need to get home field because of what happened last year in Philly.
Let's rave with Negative Dave. Take it away, fellas.
All right, it's been a couple weeks here, but Dave is back in. He's found some time for us today. We've got a lot to talk about in our usual segment, Raving with Negative Dave. And I already know he's going to come at Rick Pitino, and I'm ready to defend him after a brutal, absolutely brutal job by the referees. May have costing the Gophers their season and tournament hopes. But nonetheless, Dave, how are we today? We got a bunch of stuff to get into. Everything good with you?
Well, it's a perfect day to be calling me because it's actually raining out here in the desert about 4 or 5 times a day. So, yeah, it's cloudy, it's gloomy, and it's perfect day to have me on the radio.
Let's do it then. All right, Gophers, huge loss last night. They had it.
Oh, yeah.
Referees blew it, in my opinion, with mere coffee. It's called the verticality rule. I guess they didn't learn that at reffing school. It didn't look like he went into him. It looks like that James Palmer tried to get up in the air, and then he just completely lowered his shoulder into coffee, and they got the foul call. They were down 1 at the time. He makes 2 free throws with 1.1 seconds remaining, and they couldn't get off a shot. What are your thoughts on this, Dave?
Well, an apologist, Pitino apologist like yourself, is going to say, yeah, it was a blown call. Okay, agree. I mean, basketball is all about blowing calls, bad calls, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no consistency. The average fan like myself can't figure them out. My question to you is, why is this team going down to a last shot with Nebraska, who's lost 7 straight?
So, yeah.
The problem started after they lost the 11-point lead. They went cold again. The team's not – are you finally on my side yet? This is not a tournament team, and he will be fired at the end of this year.
No, I believe that he'll be fired at the end of the year if they don't get in the tournament. But, Dave – I mean, come on. They shot 43% from 3, 6 of 14. There's a lot of eye-opening stats that kind of say, wow, how didn't we win this game? And that's where I'm at right now. I get it. They were up 11, but it was early. And Nebraska, I know, on paper, you look at them and they say, 7-game win streak. But this is a team that was ranked in the beginning of the year, and they really, the wheels fell off for them, but they played a lot of teams tough. I'm not defending the loss, whatever. But this wasn't anything more than I thought. The referees gave this one away from me. Dave, I can't sit here and blame Pitino. I know you can't stand him, but I can't. I can't sit here and kill him.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I understand that, but I guess, you see the same kind of thing with his team game after game, and especially on the road.
Agreed.
They start out well.
Agreed.
They did this against Michigan. They get up, and then all of a sudden, boom, and then the rest of the game you can't figure out. Like, what was he doing at that point last night where he brought everyone off all his bench players came in at once?
Yeah, I think he's trying to find something. He struggles so much in the half court. I mean, their half court offense is really tough to watch, and you say it, and you're right about this. They do go through the same things. It's the droughts. I mean, the droughts are brutal for them, and they happen at the worst times. They can't do that in these games because the teams are too good. The droughts are bad. The offensive rebounds, my God, Dave. There was a couple of times in the second half. You need to have one-and-done possessions, meaning once you get that first stop, you have to get a defensive rebound and go. They let up a couple offensive rebounds, and that's the difference in the game.
Yeah. Well, and then again, on Coffee, again, at the end of the game, it's, everyone knows he's going to put up the shot. There was, at one point last night, there was 3 guys on him when he's going to the basket. It's like, can he dish it off?
Yeah.
Is he told not to dish it off? I don't know. This Pitino, he's got to figure this stuff out in practice with his rotation and stuff when things go cold. He just can't bring your bench in. Half those guys don't barely even play.
Yeah, and he played a couple of new guys yesterday. The kid with
the... What'd you get in your Valentine present? What'd you send him?
The kid with the blonde hair was playing, so I was like, wow, Brock Stoll was in.
The blonde-haired guy was playing. That's great. What did you send him for Valentine's Day?
Nothing, Dave. I had nothing to send him.
Man.
Now, let me ask you this.
You gotta let it go.
One more thing before we move on here. Take the bias out. I know you're biased against the Gophers in this case. Was that a foul?
I've never played basketball. I guess probably not.
Okay,
but
thank you.
You're on the road. Okay, you're on the road.
That's all I need you to answer, Dave. That's all I needed you to answer.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on. That's all I needed David to answer. All right, let's move on here. You had a big week, okay? You had probably your favorite player go to the X today, this week, and that was Joe Mauer. Joe Mauer going to the Wild game. Dave, give me your thoughts on this.
Well, I did bid on one of the, they wore the jerseys, the Mauer jerseys in warm-ups. I did bid on one. Apparently $10 didn't make it. It's all I could afford. Disappointed about that. This is going to, this retirement thing this year for him is going to wear me down to the bone.
I know it is.
I'm getting so salty on it. First of all, I think it was LaPanta the other night said best athlete ever from Minnesota.